Okay, welcome back everybody. This is a update. Well, I'm probably going to add this to the other video, but anyway, it's an update on the GTO. I got it pretty well mocked up here, just about to be finished, get ready for paint, but I ran into a snag with the hood in that when you put the hood on here, there was a space, a gap between the windshield. So what I had to do was I cut a piece of styrene about kind of like the thickness, can't turn it, about the same thickness as the hood, and I put a little bow in it there, trimmed it out to fit, and then trimmed it out for the carburetors. It'll be, more than likely it'll get cut back further. This was just the basic to get it on there. Anyway, I thought that worked out pretty good. It still needs, I just put the super glue on right now, so it's not very strong. Well, as I dropped it, and it didn't fall off, so it must be alright. But now I'm going to have to contour it to the windshield back there. And then after that, then the scoop can go on. So it's going to kind of look like that. Scoop still looks a little high, maybe. Maybe not, depends on the angle. I did trim down the bottom of it. I may trim a little bit more off of it. But I'm trying to get that ready for paint because the car is pretty much done, chassis wise. See if I take the body back off. The chassis is about done. It needs a couple more little details, but other than that, it's finished and be ready for waiting for the body to be painted. So we'll be back with another update soon. Oh yeah, there was one last thing I wanted to show you. This Pinto has no front splash pan here under the grill. And it turns out this is a resin body. I was thinking it was plastic, but it's such a clean casting. It made me think it was plastic, but it's actually resin. So I think it's resin. It's brittle enough to be resin. But anyway, I had no splash pan there for the bottom, so necessity being the mother of invention, I found this used to be the lower portion of the dash for the GTO. So it had a big knot up here. So I filled in styrene behind, cut the knot off, and then this was where the steering column used to go. So I filled that in with styrene. It's actually not going to be a bad fit as a splash pan once I get it contoured. It's just a rough, still in the rough stages, but I think I can work with it. Just gotta look for things that kind of have a similar shape and work with what you have. Hey everybody, welcome back to my Model Car Madness channel. I got another update and a finished car. First I'll show the finished GTO here. It's not my normal, wild colors. This is kind of more subdued, like looks more like a old person's race car maybe, or a little bit of classy race car, but I think it came out good. It's the Millennium Jade. It's like a greenish grayish color, and then that creamy color I put the stripe on with. And then I don't know if it's showing up or not, but I did put a coat of white pearl over top of everything before I cleared it. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'll give the quick 360 degree. I just used the stock rear spoiler, typical parachute lines and release cable. Very few decals. In fact, you can't even hardly see the ones here. This is just stuff I had left over from my decal sheets. I just picked something out. And those wheels are some unknown resin manufacturer that I've had for years and years, and I'm using them up. The front end I did a little Tamiya panel line accent in the grill there. Just kind of gives a little bit more depth. And the kit came with the little Pontiac emblem decal there. I don't know if you can see it or not. Not focusing very good. It had those and the, oh, I was going to get to that in a minute, but those and the little decal on the fender there. The scoop is competition resins. We'll go to the under the hood. Just the engine from the Pro Sportsman. I think it was the 57 Chevy that I used the chassis from, and the engine. Had to cut out the windshield for the carburetor, and I made these panels for under the hood. Not sure why I made them silver and the rest of the tin work is black. I guess I wasn't thinking, and I didn't want to make, tear them back out after I glued them in, so they're just going to stay the aluminum color. And underneath is just like all the other Pro Sportsman chassis. So now this one, oh, and I put bare metal foil behind the headlights and behind the tail lights, which I painted red from the inside, the tail light lens. They were clear in the kit. This was apparently a snap kit, which I didn't know when I got it, but since I only used the body, it doesn't matter. But then on to the next update, which is the Bob Glidden Pinto. 71, 72, not exactly sure on the year. But I have the rear end pretty much together, painted. I mean, I got to finish the wheelie bars. I had to do that for mock-up. And the motor, I took the Lenco off of the jukebox Ford, and this was a 351 Cleveland from a NASCAR kit. I'm still in the process of wiring right now. The tunnel ram came from, I believe, a Firefighter Mustang. A friend of mine cast me a couple of them extras a couple of years ago, so used up one of the cast resin ones. And I painted the aluminum on the side of the head because these cars had aluminum port plates on them when they were running back in the 70s. They were iron heads with they milled the side off where the exhaust port is, and then they put aluminum plate on. The chassis, I have the roll cage done, except for making a steering column support mount. I mean, these had very few bars back in the 70s, just one side bar, so that's all I'm going to do. I don't want to, I mean, it's not really going to be, it's a little too modern of a chassis for that year car anyway, but I'm going to stick with the roll cage kind of the way they were back then. The body is where I ran into a lot of difficulty. This is a resin body, which can't believe I couldn't tell the difference between resin and plastic when I took it out, but it's such a clean casting that I wasn't sure. It was broken on the post here, and it was broken in the middle, or the top here of this post. But the big thing, well, I'm making a front splash pan here because I don't have anything to go in. But when I put the grill in initially, it's got little locator pins here. Let's see if I can get it in without having my glasses on. Yeah, so when I would put that in, this fender was rolled under, kind of like rolled under there. So to twist it around, right, it was the other way, but anyway, when you twisted it around, it had a really big gap right here. So what I did is I put a little piece of styrene on there to get the right spacing, glued the splash pan in to kind of give the body some more support. And then because of doing that, the hood was a little too narrow, so I had to take just strips of styrene I put on each side, and I'm in the process of working it to this, to the shape here. The hood was warped. I had to put that in some boiling water for a minute and twist that around to get it back in shape. But the hood actually fits now. I'll put my little little ledges on there for it to sit on. A little bit more sanding, but all in all it fits pretty good. Once I put some more support at the back to hold it straight, it'll be fine. A little bit of sanding. And where is the chassis? From all the cutting, I did a lot of cutting on here, shortening this and raising the floor pan into the tubs, which messed up this part, so I had to cut the plate, you know, what would be the tin work that's normally attached to here. I cut that off, glued it on here so I can kind of make it all fit. And this in 2 spots back here in order to keep the master cylinder where it belonged in there. And then I shortened it up here, and then the chassis itself was the right length, but the strut mount, the struts, the wheelbase was off, so I had to cut the A-arms off. They were about here, moved them back, and everything, I mean, it's a little bit twisted out of shape now, but once it's glued together, it'll all be good. But the wheelbase works out good now. It sits, you know, it's going to sit down real low in the front and kind of high in the back. The roll cage I made, tried to make sure that it fit the contours of the body, which I think worked out pretty good. Should be able to get windows in there. Looks like that side's a little bit low, but I may be able to raise that up a little in the front, I'm not sure. That's about where the floor pan's going to sit. Actually, the whole thing might need to come up in the front. It's all a trial and error process, but it's coming along. Now I'm thinking on what's going to be my next project, and I'm going through my list, and it's either going to be Warren Johnson Vega, which I just got the decals from Slicks about a month ago, or it's going to be a 39 Willys Coupe that I had planned on doing in yellow. So you maybe we'll both be surprised when I decide which one it's going to be, because right now I'm not sure. Knowing me, it could be something completely different that isn't even in my choices right now. I have a list of, let me see here. Well, since I've been chopping it down, I finished a couple and didn't renumber, but I had a list of 42 projects here, and I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So whatever 6 from 42 is, that's how many more I have to go. So I just kind of try to go through the list and see what I feel like I might be in the mood to do. I don't like to do two, like that GTO is not a replica of anything. And I don't like to do 2 out of my own head in a row or at the same time. So since I finished one, and I do have a real, this is going to be a real replica, so that's, I don't know if I'm going to do another replica or something else out of my head. I'm just rambling now, so I'm going to end this before I talk too much, and come back next time and see what I did decide to build. Thanks for watching.